The Gemara says in Maseches Kiddushin, and Daf Mem Amud Beis, the Gemara says, "Ha'ochel b'shuk," if someone eats in the marketplace, "Harei ze doma lekelev," he's like a dog. Ve'eish omrim pasal eidus. There's one opinion that says that such a person who wants to testify afterwards in court, his eidus, his testimony isn't accepted because he's a person that eats in the shuk. The shuk doesn't mean shuk machane Yehuda. It means outside, in the public, in front of a lot of people. And the question is, this is a little funny, because a guy ate outside in front of a lot of people, so now he can't come to Beis Din and testify. If he saw something happen, we're not going to accept his testimony. What's the idea? So Rashi explains, Ha'ochel b'shuk, he says, Ho'il ve'ein makbid al kavodo, since the person doesn't care, he's not specific, particular about his honor, he's willing to eat in front of a lot of people, people are looking at him, he's not sitting at a table, he's not eating with a fork and a knife, he's just stam eating there. It's not the most mechubad type of way of eating. If you think about it, you wouldn't expect to find the Gadol Ador standing in the middle of the street just going ahead and eating it. It's not so honorable. Eino bosh lizalzel ba'atzma ulehi pasel. That same person is not embarrassed to put himself down and become pasel, come someone who cannot give testimony. What does that mean? So as the Maral explains and others explain, Rav and Color, they say that what is it about, what's going on when we say that someone comes to Beis Din to testify? Why do we believe him? Why do we assume he's going to tell the truth? Because the underlying assumption is that no one wants that afterwards they're going to call you a liar. No one wants it to be that, they say, this guy, he's a shakran. He doesn't care about telling the truth. People you don't want to walk around people thinking that you're not an honorable, truthful person, right? No one wants that. So the fact, that's our motivator for us to go ahead and tell the truth. But if we see that a person doesn't really care about himself too much, he's not mechabed et atzmo, he doesn't honor himself in the proper way, so then, so he'll get caught with a little red lie, no. So they'll think I'm not the best guy in the whole wide world. That's okay. I don't think of myself that great anyway. I'm willing to eat outside in the shuk, and they'll call me a little bit of a liar. It's okay. Any person that doesn't, any person that doesn't respect himself in a high level, so such a person won't mind going ahead and telling a little red lie, and therefore the halacha is that we cannot accept such a person's edus. And that's how the Rambam in Hilchos Edus, he starts off. He says, Habezuyim. There are these people who are embarrassments. They embarrass themselves. Psulim le'edus midivreim. The Rabbanan said that we can't trust them for testimony. And he goes on and lists who these people are. A person who walks naked in the street. A person that goes ahead and eats in the street. Shekol elu chashuvim kekelev. They are considered like a dog. As the Gemara said. They're like a dog. Vein makpidin al edus sheker. They don't care about lying. And the Maral explains what's the idea of a dog. Because a dog, out of all the animals, are the ones that don't demand such kavod in their lives. They'll do things that are disgusting, and they don't care so much, and therefore a person is acting like an animal in this way. Rav Hutner said that one of the biggest problems of our generation is that we're not mechabed adam. We don't give honor to humans. And some people think what that means is that they don't honor other people. But that's not what he meant. He meant they don't give honor to humans, period, even to ourselves. We don't realize sometimes that we have Tzelem Elokim, we have Hashem in us. We have potential for godless, for tremendous greatness. Even if for some reason we don't think we're going to be the Torah giant, we're not going to know more Torah than Reb Chaim Kanievsky, but we could become giants, the greatest of the great. And we could do tremendous things. But what's the problem? We don't believe in that so much. We don't believe in ourselves. We don't believe that we could go ahead and do great things, and therefore we don't treat ourselves in such honorable fashions. We're willing to dress in ways that aren't so honorable. We're willing to speak in ways that aren't so honorable, because who am I anyway? Who am I anyway? That is the greatest tactic of the Yetzer Hara. The greatest tactic of the Yetzer Hara is to make us feel like, we're not like that anyway. If I'd be like that, of course I would dress that way. Of course I would walk that way. Of course I would speak that way, but that's not me anyway. So since it's not me anyway, so my ceiling's much lower. That's the Yetzer Hara telling you that you're not great. But it's not true. Because inside every single person, we are Gedolim. We are giants with the potential to become even greater and greater and greater. The more we recognize that about ourselves, the more we mechabed ourselves, the more we'll act in a completely different, refined, honorable fashion. What is this Tzelem Elokim that's in us? What is it at the end of the day that makes us different than the animals? So the pasuk says, in the beginning in Parshas Bereshis, and Hashem blew within us Nishmas Chayim, and the Mefarshim explain what it means is the ability to speak, the ability to think. Our das, our understanding, is the greatest way, or maybe even the way, that differentiates us between animals. The more we act with our das, the more we act thinking with our seichel, the more we're able to go ahead and act like a human being, representing the Tzelem Elokim, the divine existence of Hashem within us. The second we lose our das, the moment that we don't act so much in a seichel type of a way, that's it. We lose the whole thing. It's for this reason that the Gemara says, in Maseches Psachim, in Arvei Psachim, and Daf Kuf Yud Gimel, Gemara says, Shlosha HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ohavan. There are three people that Hashem loves. It's easy. There are three people that Hashem loves. Who are these three people? Misha Eino Koes, someone who doesn't get angry. Well, what's that about? Because when a person gets angry, what's he doing? He loses himself. He's not thinking anymore. He'll go break things. He'll hit people. He'll do things that make absolutely no sense. His feelings, his emotions, overran his seichel. The seichel is the Hashem, is the Tzelem Elokim in us. And when we don't let that shine, so Hashem doesn't love us. You want Hashem to love you? Act like Hashem. Use that seichel that Hashem gave you, the divine existence. Person number two, mi she'eino mishtaker, someone who doesn't get drunk. When a person gets drunk, he loses his seichel. He's not speaking in the way that he wants to speak. He's not acting in the way that he wants to act. And therefore, someone who gets drunk, Hashem doesn't love. Someone who doesn't get drunk, his seichel is what's operating. He's able to think, he's able to act in the way that his seichel tells him to do. And therefore, his Tzelem Elokim is shining forth. Person number three, Mi she'eino mamid al midosav. Rashi explains what that means is, if someone did something bad to you, Rashi in Megillah, if you want to look this up, and Chav Ches and Aleph, if someone does something bad to you, you don't go ahead and take revenge against him. My emotions say, I want to get you. I'm so upset that you did that to me. My seichel says, what are you going to gain from such a thing? What are you going to do? What are you going to get back? Are you going to make you feel better, really, if you get him back? No, absolutely not. You're able to use your seichel to override your emotions and your desires. The three people that Hashem loves are the three people that have challenges or potential challenges through their emotions, where their emotions, their feelings would tell them, don't do what your seichel wants to do. But you say, no, my seichel, my tzelem elokim, my das, my knowledge, my understanding, my appreciation of what's going on, that's going to override everything. I'm going to let my tzelem elokim go ahead and shine. Sometimes people like to find out, so what's really wrong with getting drunk? Where's the Aveira in the Torah? Where does it say somewhere in the Torah you're not allowed to get drunk? Okay, so they point out that the Ramban writes in Parshas Kedoshim, the Ramban writes that part of the mitzvah of Kedoshim Tiyu, to be holy, is someone, he says, Vayikadish atzum min hayayin bimiuto. A person sanctifies himself with very little wine, meaning by not indulging in wine. Moshekara kasav hanazir kadosh. The nazir who abstains from wine is called a kadosh, a holy person. V'yizkor haros haniskaros mimenu b'Torah. And a person should think about all the bad things that happened to people that got drunk in the Torah. For example, Noach and Lot. We'll get back to them in a minute. So when a person doesn't get drunk, he makes himself kadosh. He fulfills a mitzvah of kedoshim tiyu. There's another Gemara. The Gemara says in Maseches Brachos, and Daf Chav Tesam Beis, Lo tirtach v'lo techati. Lo tirvi v'lo techati. What does that mean? Rashi explains, don't get angry, because if you get angry, anger is going to come to make you do a sin. Don't get drunk, because through drinking, wine will bring him to do a sin. The way Rashi understands the Gemara, the drinking isn't sinful itself, but these are two warnings that were given in the Gemara over there by Eliyahu Navi that you shouldn't do because it's going to come to bad things. But the Rambam in Hilchos Deos brings down this Gemara differently. The Rambam writes, Kishachacham shote yayin, when the smart person, the learned, he drinks wine, he only drinks to help him digest the food. But anyone who gets drunk, he is a sinner. And he's a low level, and he loses his chachma. Getting drunk itself, he writes, is a sin. Okay. So people like to look for that. Where does it say in the Torah that you're not allowed to go get drunk? So they point to this Ramban, point to this Rambam. Okay. But it's much more basic than that. Let's shelve that for a minute. Forget an explicit sin or mitzvah in the Torah. It's a much more basic thing, as we just explained. The Tzelem Elokim, that greatness, the godlike character that we have in us, is all based on our das. It's all based on our ability to think, to use our seichel. The second a person drinks or does other things that makes him lose his ability to think straight, it causes him to oversleep. It causes him to be out of it, to the extent that people will ask you, so what happened yesterday? Oh, I can't remember a thing. Well, that makes it even more exciting. Blacking out, all these types. What are you basically saying? You're saying, Hashem put himself into me with his das, with his seichel. I have Hashem in me. But let me just get that out for a moment. Yank it out so I don't have to have God in me. And now let me act. You got to be nuts to do such a thing. Got to be crazy. You have Hashem in you. All you have to do is act with your seichel. And when you do that, like the Gemara said, Hashem loves you. And we say, look, I want out because it's a little fun. It's exciting. I'm going to do something right now. I'm going to yank Hashem right out of me. Why would you do that? Even if it's not a mitzvah, and even if it's not an aveira. It's like the basics. God's here. He wants to be in you. All you have to do is act with your seichel, and you want to stop? You have to be drunk to do such a thing. Okay, I had to say that. So the Medrash says something very fascinating. Often we think of drunkards as people, they drink every week. Or if there's ever a get-together, he's the guy who brings the wine, he's the guy who brings the booze. He's that's the drunkard. But the Medrash tells us something very startling. As we saw before, the Ramban says, remember, what happened to Noach? What happened to Lot? So the Medrash in the Yalkut Shimoni in Tehillim, if you want to look it up, it's Remez Tafshin Mem Aleph. He's speaking about Noach. And he says that, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael, Hashem said to Bnei Yisrael, until I created you humans, the angels were makals and they praised in front of me, they praised me saying, Baruch Hashem Elokei Yisrael. They would say, praise is God, the God of Bnei Yisrael. Then all of a sudden man came along and they said, who should they highlight? The angels wanted to know, Hashem, when we praise you, who should we highlight? So they said, maybe we'll highlight Noach, the God of Noach. Noach, it says, Ish tzadik tamim haya b'dorosav. Noach was perfect. Let's highlight him, the God of this perfect individual. What an amazing God you are. And Hashem said, what? Amar lahem, Hashem said to them, lo, don't mention his name. When you praise me, don't mention Noach. Why? Shikorhu. He's a drunkard. That's what the Medrash says. Don't mention his name when you're going ahead and you're praising me. I'm the God of Noach. He's a shikor. He's a drunkard. Now, Noach drank one time in his entire life and got drunk. He wasn't a guy who went to the bars every night. He wasn't doing this every weekend. One time. And for that, he's out. What's the deal? Because he yanked Hashem out of him. He pulled his das, he pulled the seichel out of him. The Gemara says in Sanhedrin, Tzadi Beis Amud Aleph, 92a, Kol Adam she'ein bodea. Any person that doesn't have das, he doesn't have a way of thinking, doesn't have his seichel, asur l'rachim alav. You can't have pity on him. A guy that doesn't act with das, doesn't act with his brain, don't have pity on him. And the Maharsha asks, says, what? We don't have pity on someone? You're supposed to have pity on everyone. The pasuk says, "V'racham al kol ma'asav." You should have pity on every one of creations of Hashem. So what's the story? And he says as follows: Havadai, for sure, diyesh l'rachim al kol ma'asav. For sure, on anyone that's created, you have to have pity on such a person. Shelo bitlu tzurasan kefi abriya. But that's only if he didn't undo the form that he was created in. Aval ha'adam. But man, kevan shenivra b'daito b'sichlo. Man is different than an animal because he's created with knowledge, with a mindset and a seichel. Im ein lo das, if he doesn't have das, if he doesn't act with his seichel, he doesn't act with his mind, harehu ma'abei tzuraso. He loses the whole tzura, the whole dimensions of being a man. Ve'ein ze bechlal kol ma'asav. He's not even considered of all the creations that Hashem created, l'rachmo, that you're obligated to go ahead and be merachim on. Because Hashem made him, ki elokim asa'u yashar b'das. Hashem made him the way he is because of his knowledge. So to the extent, this is unbelievable, to the extent that you don't have to have pity on such a person that goes ahead and acts in such a fashion. Meaning, a person that gets drunk, it's not just that it's Avera, Kedoshim to you, or the Rambam, the Yerchote. It's not just that if you don't get drunk, Hashem loves you. But it's much more deeper than that. It's much more basic. It's that someone who always acts with his das, someone who always acts with his seichel, what he's doing is he's acting with his tzelem elokim, with the godlike features within him. That's amazing. And when you don't act that way, when you knock yourself out, when you pull that out, so then you're not a human anymore. You're like a kelev. You're like an animal that doesn't have those features, that doesn't have the tzelem elokim inside him. The Orchel Sadikim writes in Shar HaSimcha. He quotes from the Rambam in Mor Nevuchim, and he writes as follows: the cause of Rabbeinu Moshe HaMaimoni, Hakibutz al Ashtiya Mishakeres, gathering together with groups of people that get drunk. This should be more disgusting and like ew from you than to gather together with people who are naked. There are two groups that you can hang out with. Don't do either. But he says if you had two groups that were there, he said it's worse. It should be more disgusting to you to go hang out with the drunkards. Because it's from the worst of the things. Why? Because it takes out the seichel from you. That Hashem blew right into your nostrils. So, we have to realize that we have a tremendous amount of potential for greatness. Because we have the Tzelem Elokim within us. We're built with Hashem within us. And we could do incredible things, amazing things. And that should be governing all of our ways of acting. The way we dress, the way we speak, the way we walk, the way that you eat, when you eat, what you eat. All of these different things should be governed with, I am a giant, I have Hashem in me, and I have an enormous amount of potential. And like we said, the Yetzer Hara comes along and he says to you, he says, you're not as great, so you could act this way. And you're not going that far, so you could do this as well. And it just hits us, and we shoot ourselves in the leg for holding ourselves back from what we could accomplish. And sometimes we do even the worst, and we could get drunk. For what? For right now, it's a little bit of fun. Right now, it's an exciting. There's so many other ways to have fun. There's so many other ways to relax. There's so many other ways to hang out with friends. But when a person goes ahead and embarks on drinking, what he's ending up doing is he's yanking out the seichel from him. He acts in ways that he never would have acted. He's not operating 100%. That's not cool. That's not funny. That's horrible. Because he's pulling out everything that Hashem gave him from within him. Operating with seichel is an enormous thing. Bez Hashem, we should try to think about this, take this in. Okay, in the month of Adar, ask your local Orthodox, competent rabbi about what to do on Purim. Well, I'm speaking on Purim. I'm speaking about today. I'm speaking about on Shabbos. I'm speaking about on Onegs. I'm speaking about on a Sunday. I'm speaking whatever it is. Think about Purim for a second. Let's get down to the basics. The basics, before you get to Purim, is that acting in this way is against everything that we believe in. Not necessarily, again, you need a pasuk, someone asked me, the tshuva of Moshe Feinstein. We don't need that. We don't need that. We're pulling out the seichel that is what Hashem blew right into us, right out of us. Why do we do that? Only because we don't appreciate what it is to have it. Only because we don't appreciate how amazing we are, the tremendous potential that we have on the entire world and ourselves and on mankind. Be'ez Hashem, we should try to inculcate this idea into us. It should play out in the way we speak, the way we act, everything. And of course, we should never do anything to suck out the seichel from within us. And Be'ez Hashem, we'll all be able to incredibly do tremendous things on behalf of ourselves, on behalf of the Jewish people, and have Hashem love us. Shavua Tov.